muscles of government, we must guard against the acquisition of unwarranted influence, whether sought or unsought, by the military-industrial complex.
In Dallas, Texas, 3 shots were fired at President Kennedy's motorcade in downtown Dallas. The first reports say that President Kennedy has been seriously wounded by this shooting.
It is a big idea, a new world order.
It was almost as if it were a planned implosion. It just pancaked.
Either you are with us, or you are with the terrorists.
But I also believe that a lot of gun owners would agree that AK-47s belong in the hands of soldiers, not in the hands of criminals.
Guns will be taken. No one will be able to be armed. We're going to take all guns.
For many of the police and guard troops, it is an uncomfortable job to do this in an American city.
Global governance at last. Is it one world? The central bankers in charge. But aren't we all just living and dying for what the central banks do?
As for me, give me liberty or give me death!
The answer to 1984 is 1776.
Welcome to the INFOWARS Nightly News. I'm your host, Jakari Jackson. It's September 5th, 2013, and let's go straight into the news. Top story tonight, Russia says it's compiled a 100-page report blaming the Syrian rebels for a chemical weapons attack. In a statement posted on Russia's Foreign Ministry's website, Russia said the report had been delivered to the United Nations in July and includes detailed scientific analysis of samples that Russian technicians collected at the site of the alleged attack. Russia said that the investigation of the March 19th incident was conducted under strict protocols established by the Organization for the Prohibition of Chemical Weapons. The statement also noted that the attention paid to the August 21st attack had diverted attention from the investigation into the March 19th incident, which was the reason why the UN investigators were there. There has been no immediate comment from the United States, and I doubt you're going to get an immediate comment on this because they're too busy telling you that the Syrian rebels were not responsible for this, even though they're showing you the footage of the Syrian rebels prepping the device. I want to say, you can't say for sure it was sarin gas or whatever they were using in that particular video, but you see the guys, they're turning the thing, turning the bomb, and they're shooting off the rocket launcher, but they're saying, that's the Assad regime, even though these guys are not dressed in official uniforms. These guys have the Al-Qaeda logo on their videos, but that's not the Syrian rebels, which I thought was very curious of the Obama administration to do that. They think you're really that stupid. And we'll be talking more about this. And it goes into this, going from chemical weapons with that. Let's say this. Russia warns of nuclear disaster if Syria is attacked. Russian Foreign Ministry spokesman has issued a statement warning that a military strike on Syria by the United States will result in a nuclear disaster. That's no big deal. A miniature reactor near Damascus and other nuclear facilities poses a threat of radioactive contamination if attacked. The consequences could be catastrophic, he said. Possible risks include possible contamination of adjacent territories with highly enriched uranium and radioactive decay products. And I'm sure the United States knows this. As you'll see in our next article, they've been scoping out Syria for some time, even though, they're willing to launch the weapons and hit something that's of significance. It's my understanding. I've never been to Syria, but I'm pretty sure it's much smaller, considerably smaller than the United States of America. So if you launch your weapons over there willy-nilly, there's a good chance you're going to hit something that's rather important, something that could contaminate the area with radiation. But the United States American way is, if you get a bunch of radiation poison, just raise the levels of acceptable radiation. But, that may not even come to that because, Obama has specific language in his bills and his proposals that will allow him to send boots on the ground. Even though nobody wants to talk about that, we want to talk about that here at the INFOWARS Nightly News. Pentagon knew in 2012 it would take 75,000 ground troops to secure Syria's chemical weapons facilities. A U.S. Central Command arrived at the figure of 75,000 ground troops as part of a written series of military options for dealing with Assad's more than 18 months ago, long before the U.S. confirmed initially that the Syrian dictator was using weapons against rebel factions within his borders. And I'm not saying that's confirmed that Assad actually used those weapons, and I'm not here cheerleading for Assad. I'm not cheerleading for Russia or anybody else, who's trying to stave off this attack. But the United States is using very flaky evidence to launch an attack on Syria. You know, they knew all about this stuff a long time ago. They had the 75,000 ground troops, and they also knew about the oil pipelines in the Middle East. Report: China sends warship to coast of Syria. According to the Russian news outlet Telegraftis, the ship has not been sent to engage in any aggressive action, but is merely there to observe the actions of Russian and U.S. warships. However, the ship is equipped for combat and is armed with missiles. So basically, China is trying to play peace cop. Trying to play a peace cop between the United States and Russia. They're saying, you know, if you guys want to go out here and have a staring contest all day, that's fine. But don't start anything because we brought a little something along with us. And we'll talk more about this after the break with Dr. Jerome Corsi and also myself. We're going to have a sit-down roundtable to discuss all things Syria.
Now you can watch the InfoWars Nightly News streaming live as it happens for free.
Check it out at infowars.com/show.
Let's come back to some domestic news. NRA joins ACLU lawsuit, claims NSA starting gun registry. And the article goes on and says, the National Rifle Association joined the American Civil Liberties Union's lawsuit on Wednesday to end the government's massive phone records collection program. In its filing, the gun rights group claims the NSA's database would allow the government to identify and track gun owners based on whether they called gun stores, shooting ranges, or the NRA. The article also goes on to say that it violates the First Amendment and thinks that people would be intimidated by a force such as the NSA being able to track their every move and would actually hurt the NRA membership, as it would hurt many other things. You heard right after Edward Snowden broke the NSA information, a lot of people started going back to snail mail, and then it came out they were tracking your snail mail. They're taking photographs of the front and back of your snail mail, so they want to know everything that you're doing. So, you know, I've been critical of the NRA in the past, but I'm definitely happy to see that they're getting on board with this. They're saying this isn't a left issue, it's not a right issue, it's about a personal right issue, a human right issue, not to be monitored 24/7 by Big Brother. So good job to you, NRA. And we'll end with this: shot while waiting for the police. Now, I want you to send this report out to everybody you know who's against guns, who says, you know, if something did happen, I'll just dial 911. Let's see what happened when this person dialed 911. Police Chief James Craig has suspended 2 9/11 dispatchers for delays in sending officers to separate calls for service, including one that eventually resulted in a death. Fox 2's Charlie LeDuff says a woman who feared for her safety called 911 6 times, but the dispatcher waited more than an hour to send officers to the dispute. LeDuff says that by the time the officers arrived, the woman was shot by a man armed with an AK-47. She is now listed in critical condition, and the article goes on from there. So a lot of people will say, well, you know, this is why we don't need to have guns. This guy was walking around with an AK-47 and he shot this woman. I would say it didn't matter what type of firearm this guy had, because I'm guessing the woman didn't have an arm, or at least wasn't able to get to it. So while she's waiting for the police to arrive for XYZ reason, even if the dispatcher did call the police promptly and say, hey, you need to arrive at this residence right away, you know, the cop could have got a flat tire, he could have gotten a traffic accident, could have been a snowstorm, a whole bunch of different reasons why the police couldn't get there in a timely fashion. And now this woman has been shot. You know, it says 2 people were injured in these incidents. At least 1 person is dead. This other person is in critical condition. So this is why you need to have a firearm and know how to use it. I'll keep my gun, I'll keep my guns, and you can keep the change. That's not the quote of the day, but this is our quote of the day. If tyranny and opposition come to this land, it will be in the guise of fighting a foreign enemy. That by James Madison. Now stay tuned, because like I said earlier, right after this break, myself, David Knight, and Jerome Corsi, Dr. Jerome Corsi, will be here discussing all things Syria. But first, if you like this broadcast and you'd like to see it continue, stop by prisonplanet.tv and pick up a 15-day free trial. As the Alex Jones Show, the nightly news, the rants, the special reports, it's all right there on prisonplanet.tv. And also stop by the InfoWars shop and pick up our new magazine. I got one right here. It has the image of Obama. You know, and it's pretty self-explanatory, but if you go in, it's all about the political correctness and, you know, everybody worshiping Obama. You know, we've seen the kid pray to Obama, and I'm not too mad at the kid. I'm more upset at the parent who did not correct the child's mistake. But anyway, you know, the rodeo clown who got fired, and Now they had to take sensitivity training. It's all in this edition of the InfoWars magazine. So stay tuned right after this for the roundtable on Syria.
Now you can watch Alex Jones live at Infowars.com/show.
You'll find links to all of our content there and a free 15-day trial for Prison Planet TV.
You can also browse the network, the InfoWars Nightly News,
and over 60 movies and documentaries all together in one place.
You can watch the Alex Jones radio show live as it happens.
So check it out, Infowars.com/show.